Hi, I'm Andy Jones. Welcome to another episode of Art Talk. This is our first episode in 2024, and I am joined in studio, as always, by my good buddy, Stephen White. Happy New Year, Stephen.
Happy New Year.
I have literally taught thousands of people how to paint, and if you have any desire to learn, I can teach you how to do it. Today's lesson is all about painting roses and a glass vase. And so we're going to paint a whole bunch of roses in a very impressionistic style, and we're going to paint a vase that's going to be super easy for everyone. And I want to let you know that I'm painting on an 8x8 canvas. I did my original on a gallery wrap canvas, but today I'm going to be painting on a canvas panel. I've transferred a design onto my canvas from our downloadable design, and the link to that downloadable design is in the description below. Lay it on your canvas, and I'm using gray artist transfer paper. What you want to make sure is that you have what I always call the business side down. So I always do a little test. I put my transfer paper down and make a mark, and you can see that my mark transferred. So that is what I would do. Slip my transfer paper underneath my design, and then using a stylus or a ballpoint pen, just go over all of your design lines, and you will have a design transferred to your canvas so you're ready to go. Stephen, it's a brand new year. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. We're painting roses just in time for Valentine's Day, which is coming up early next month.
Yes. And do you have a Valentine that you're sending roses to?
My cat.
Now, does your cat like roses or flowers?
We'll find out.
Let's start by putting some paint out on our canvas. Some titanium white, a little bit of yellow ochre. Also add a little burnt umber to our palette. And I'm also going to put out just a little bit of pure black. Okay, so we have some colors out, and we are going to quickly paint in our background. So I'm using a 1-inch flat brush, and I'm going to start with a generous amount of titanium white, and I'm going to brush that on. I want everyone to see that I am actually painting over some of my graphite lines right around the outside of my design. But you can still see the design through the white paint. So that way we've got our whole canvas covered, and we can still see what we are doing.
Are you gonna get Vera any roses?
Well, you know, I would, but since she can't see them, I would probably just get something that smells like roses, and it would do the same thing for her.
I think she would probably just appreciate cream cheese.
You are not kidding. That is the one thing I know that dog loves and appreciates. All right, so I'm trying to work quickly here so that we get this background covered as fast as I can, and I still want to be able to see my design lines. So now let's pick up a little bit of yellow ochre on our brush along with some white, and we're just going to start brushing a little bit of this gold color on there. Instantly we're softening it into the wet white that we have on our canvas. So far we're not doing anything that's very difficult. I don't think on Art Talk we've ever done anything that's really difficult. All right, so adding a small amount of pure black to our brush, and then as we brush this on, we get a nice kind of soft grayish brown color, and I need to pick up a little bit more white so that I can blend that in and soften that color into my painting. Always pick up any color that you need to and work it in. We want to be working fairly quickly so we have time for all of our colors to meld together. All right, so I'm adding just a little bit of this black and yellow ochre to my brush, and we'll just add some extra color over here. And you can adjust this to suit your own personal preferences. If you're somebody who likes more of that gray-green color, you can certainly add more of that to your design, or if you don't like that color, you can leave it more of the gold tones. Okay, so I'm thinking that this background looks pretty good to me, and I'm at that point where if I keep messing with this, I will have a big problem in just a minute. So we're going to stop with our background, and I'm going to dry it so that I can keep my hands out of my painting. I'm going to add a little Prussian blue to my palette, as well as a little bit of thicket. What we're going to do now that we've got some green, some Prussian blue, burnt umber, and black on our palette, we're going to quickly brush mix a nice dark color. And I'm just going to add a little Prussian blue into my thicket, and we'll add some burnt umber to dull that down a little bit. And I'm going to wait and see what this looks like on my canvas before I add black to it. Because I've got two little leaf forms that kind of hang out from underneath my roses. So I'm just using the corner of my brush, and I'm lightly painting in a leaf shape. Does that look like a leaf to you, Stephen?
I mean, I'm looking at it upside down, but I think I see what you're getting at.
Okay, because I don't want to do any more to it than I have to. Most of the time, if someone is looking at a floral painting and there's something green in near the flowers, they're going to think it's foliage. So I don't have to beat them over the head with a leaf shape. So just coming right in around the flowers.
I mean, you don't want to write over it leaf?
I don't. And, you know, so often people will be painting something and they're like, oh, I need to do this and I need to do that and need to do this other. And I'm like, why? I know what it is. You know what it is. Anybody looking at that knows what it is. So we've got a couple of leaves going on there. In the vase, it is very chic now. So when you order Roku's flowers for Valentine's Day, they'll probably come in a vase and there'll be all of this greenery kind of stuffed down in the top of the vase. So I just added a little bit of black to my dark color on my palette, and we are now going to add all of that kind of loose greenery down into the vase. So I'm going to use the edge of my brush and just carve in the dark edge of my vase. So if we're looking at our finished painting, you could see that that dark color goes right along the edge there, and then it's going right up underneath our rose, and it's just kind of going to fade out down into our vase. We don't have to let everybody know what we're doing there. We're putting a little dark shading color up underneath our flowers, and it's just kind of filling in that area at the top of the vase. All right, that's a lot of darkness up in the vase, and that's just how we need it. But I'm going to rinse out my number 12 flat brush, give that a quick rinsey, rinsey, rinsey. Okay, let's take our number 12 flat brush and let's indicate our table line by just indicating a table line. So some titanium white. I can pick up some of this interior vase color. So we've got just a different shade of gray than we had over here, but it's pretty close. I'm going to set the chisel edge of my brush down right next to that table line and scooch that color out. And if I need to, I can just kind of soften it in with my finger, not making it more important than it should be. And we'll do the same thing over on the left side of the vase. And then right next to the vase, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra color and just kind of soften that in. Okay, so that being done, let's paint in the bottom of our vase. So I'm going to take that same color on my brush and just kind of tap the corner of the brush into some stronger dark color there. So you see we've got our grayish color on one half of the brush and a little bit darker color on the other corner of the brush. And we are going to just add this little bit of darkness here at the bottom of our vase. And I'm going to touch the brush to some water, blot my brush on my shop towel, and then come back to my palette. Now I've got that a little bit more damp, and we're putting that color on, and I'm just going to kind of brush at a bit of a diagonal. And that bit of a diagonal is just an artistic choice. If it's not what you want to do, you don't have to do it. No one's going to call the vase police on you. I'm going to rinse out my number 12 flat brush because I want it to be fairly clean. And I'm going to create a cast shadow, but now that I've rinsed that brush out, I'm thinking to myself, I need a bigger brush. So I'm getting out my 3/4 inch flat brush, and I've dampened it with some water, taken the excess off on my shop towel, and I'm going to take a little burnt umber on the corner of the brush, and also just a smidgen, and that is an actual measurement of pure black. I want a grayish black color. All right, so I'm thinking I need a little more moisture, but still blot it out every time. That is a habit of 30, 40 years of blotting a brush and taking excess moisture out. But now you can see I'm getting a nice gradation of color. And what I'm going to do is just put in a very quick and easy shadow. So I'm going to start at the top of my shadow, and then it's going to come right down around the edge of the vase, and I'm going to tap and scooch that shadow right underneath the vase. And if it dries out, touch your brush to your water, blot it on your shop towel, make sure everything's loaded up properly, and then you can just go over it one more time. And that's basically how we created our shadow underneath our vase.
Pretty easy.
It is pretty easy. Thank you for noticing. I appreciate that. Not everything I do is tough, difficult, and time-consuming.
Well, you're not using a palette knife right now, so.
No, that you've used that. That's pretty easy.
Well, you know.
All right, so let's put out a little Calypso Sky on our palette. So I'm going to take a little Thicket and a little Calypso Sky, making a nice green color. And I'm going to paint in a stem using the chisel edge of the brush. And that's a little not showing up as well as I wanted it to. How about that? So I just added a little yellow ochre to my brush, which will make this a little bit different color, and it'll stand out better. All right, so that's one stem. Let's do another stem with some Thicket and yellow ochre. All right, so I've picked up a little Calypso Sky, and we're going to add a little bit of that to this stem. And we can pick up a little burnt umber over here, and we'll paint a couple of stems that come down this other direction. You want them to be a little bit different size, a little bit different shape, and a slightly different angle. Now is where things get a little bit more fun and a little bit more creative, because you get to sort of be in charge of what you're doing on your vase. So I'm going to make a blue-gray color for this right side, and I'm going to take some Calypso Sky and a touch of black. That may be way too much black, so we'll get rid of some of that. But I didn't get rid of quite enough, so we're going to add more Calypso Sky here and a tad of white. There we go. Now we're getting into blue-gray territory. So I've got a nice color here on my brush. I'm going to take some of the excess off, and what I'm going to do is start down at the bottom of my vase, and I'm going to put a little bit of that color there, and then where the vase starts up the side, I'm going to put more pressure on the corner of the brush and bring that up to meet my dark foliage that's down in the vase. All right, so let's go over that one more time just to reinforce it. And I also want to bring that out to meet my table line. Okay, so we've got a good edge of our vase on the left side, and unfortunately we have nothing over here on the right side, but we are going to fix that right now. All right, so I just took some of this blue-gray color and just dry brushed a little bit across the vase there, And now I'm going to start doing some really fun stuff. And by fun stuff, I mean just adding little bits of color, little pieces of color to the painting. So I'm going to add some Calypso Sky right along the bottom edge of the vase. And I'm going to bring that right over to the edge of the vase and then just pull a little bit of that blue up, giving it just a little bit of an extra highlight there. Imagine what that light looks like kind of dancing around on this curved glass surface. And I'm going to give an accent of blue right there. Could this vase stand a little bit of an accent of blue right here? I think so. And so I'm just tapping that on, and it's kind of covering some of those stems. It's giving a little bit of an interesting shape there. And so for right now, I think you are all getting the impression that this is a transparent glass vase because you can see stems in it, you can see the bottom of the vase, and when we start adding these accents, we're giving some thickness or the illusion of thickness to our glass. So all that accomplished, and we're going to give this a quick dry, and then we're going to start on our flowers. I'd like to take a minute to thank Plaid Enterprises for sponsoring Art Talk. They are the makers of folk art acrylics, which I absolutely love using. I've used this paint since I was a young tot, and now that I'm an old fart, I still use this paint. We have a 17-piece set that we've curated just for you. Ordering information is in the description below, and we also have great brushes for you. We have a 7-piece set of Folk Art Select Firm Bristle brushes. These are absolutely incredible. I use them every time I paint. And I've never done that in my entire life. Now, let's get back to our video. Okay, it is now time to tackle a bouquet of roses. We're going to paint each individual rose, but we're going to work on the whole bouquet together. So let's put out some rose colors on our palette, and I'm going to put out some True Burgundy. I'm going to put out some Tickled Pink. I've got some white out on my palette, and I've got Prussian Blue out to darken things. So I think we're just about ready to dive into this. All right, so we're going to start with our True Burgundy, and I'm going to start over here on the left side because I would paint from left to right, just like I read. And I'm going to darken in the center of my flower. And notice that it's not a circle. Okay, it's got some shape to it, and we'll give another center to a flower. Oh, and let's go ahead and mess with this one back here. The centers of my flowers are not circles. None of them are. But let's take a little bit of Prussian Blue on the corner of our brush, and we can darken parts of the center of these flowers. Do you see how nice that Prussian Blue really makes that center have some depth to it? And so we're just darkening our flower center. All right, now I'm going to wipe my brush off a little bit and pick up True Burgundy. And I'm going to use the corner of my brush, and I'm holding the brush back at the end of the handle as far back as I can, just kind of loosely gripping the brush so that I can kind of sketch in a very artsy kind of way with my brush. All right, and I'm going to give the shape of this flower very quickly, very loosely, and then quickly fill it in. All right, can you all see, and I'm sure Stephen is making sure that you can see, that that is a rose shape?
I see a rose.
Okay.
That's my Rorschach test. That looks like a rose to me.
Okay, well, we're going to put another rose in right back here, and the thing that I want you to keep in mind is that the outside edge of this bouquet has got to be interesting. We can't have just kind of lollipop circle shapes going out there. So you can see that this kind of goes across, comes down, goes out, down, out. And this up here, we've got now some shape going on there. It's a lot of stuff to keep in mind, but none of it's too difficult. Everything's fairly easy. And I have to keep things easy because if I don't keep things easy, then I can't remember it and I can't do it. All right, so we've got 2 flowers done and some flower going on back there. Let's move over a little bit more and we can fill in another rose shape. Okay, we've got a bunch of flowers in there now, so I'm going to wipe off my number 12 flat brush and I'm going to pick up some tickled pink. So we've got tickled pink and we've got a little true burgundy on our brush. And I'm going to kind of lighten up right around my flower center. Okay, easy peasy, right?
Right.
All right, notice how each one of these little bits of light pink are all slightly different shape. It's not the same size, it's not the same shape, and none of them are exactly in the same direction. So we've got our flower centers kind of highlighted there, and I'm going to pick up a little bit more true burgundy with my tickled pink, and we're going to start to just add in some petal shapes. Now, what did I just say we were adding in, Stephen?
Petal shapes.
Okay, so I'm not trying to paint an individual rose petal.
Correct.
Okay, as long as you've got that, that means everybody who's watching understands that.
We're giving the impression of a rose petal.
And I didn't even have to pay you for that comment. Perfect. Yes.
I mean, you can pay me anyway.
That's exactly what we're doing. We are giving the impression of a rose.
I have Venmo, Cash App, PayPal.
All right, so we're adding in some shapes that will help indicate where our flower is. That's all we're doing. And this is just the beginning of these flowers. So I can add in a little wisp of a petal up there and a couple of other little strokes. And that gives me a whole flower right there. I don't have to paint in everything. As one of my teachers says, paint the dog, don't paint the fleas. So we are just trying to give you enough information that you know we're painting roses, and these right now are very pink roses, but we can change that up in just a minute, and rest assured we will. All right, so I'm going to wipe out my brush. I think I've got just about enough of that in there, but now that I've turned my head for a moment, I needed to put in another stroke or two just to make sure that I'm at the verge of overdoing this, but not quite. All right, so we've got a couple of more roses, so let's start with our true burgundy. Just like we did before, we're going to start with the center shape of our flowers. And once again, these are not just round centers. And we are going to add some darkness down into the centers of these flowers. And I'm now going to pick up just some true burgundy, and just like we did before, we're going to hold the brush way back on the handle, and we will scrub in a little bit of our true burgundy just to fill in the canvas so we don't have a lot of white or light spots showing through. Now, Stephen, I am going to have to admonish you a little bit.
I don't know what that word means.
It'll slightly scold you.
Okay.
All right, so you were going to get Roku some roses for Valentine's Day. I think there's someone else you probably need to get roses for as well.
Are you about to mention my mom?
I was going to mention your mom, yes indeed.
Well, you know, I might have something more than just roses
Well,
prepared for my mom.
In addition, if she hears that you got that cat flowers and you did not get her flowers,
You're right.
this is going to be a bad day.
Those are bad optics for sure.
Yes, indeed. All right, so I'm going back around my flower centers. Again, this is some true burgundy and tickled pink. And we're just turning this as we need to. One, because I can't see where I'm painting. And two, just to throw Stephen a curveball.
why not, you know?
Yeah. Now, did you ever play baseball?
I did.
To what level?
Like, I didn't play at high school. I played like rec league when I was a kid.
Okay. Well, good for you.
Yeah, I was like past machine pitch, like where there's other kids pitching to you.
I am so impressed because, as you can imagine, I did not play baseball or virtually any sport.
You know, if I could pick one sport to just be really, really good at and, you know, make a lot of money off of it, it would probably be golf because, one, you make a lot of money being a really good golf player. Two, you never have any injuries, like hardly ever. And three, you can play till you're like 75.
I have my nephew played golf seriously, and his senior year of high school, he didn't go to school. He played pro-am golf tournaments. His parents thought that he was going to, you know, basically, you know, be a pro golfer. And suddenly he's like, no more golf. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
Yeah.
All right, so now I've added some white to my tickled pink, and I'm going to start adding smaller, lighter petals where I think my bouquet would be lighter, brighter. So you don't have to paint 1,001 petals, and I'm really kind of smashing these on using the corner of my flat brush. If I need to, I can set the brush down and I can pull back, or I can add little petal strokes with the corner of the brush.
Hey, I mean, whether you're golfing or you're painting, you're working on your stroke either way, right?
Exactly. Eye-hand coordination, fine motor skills, all those things which are...
You're the Tiger Woods of painting hydrangeas.
Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate that, and God knows I love me a hydrangea painting. So we're just adding these petals around, and you want to make sure that they are not the same size, not the same shape, and not the same distance apart. So pretty soon we're going to have that needle pointed onto pillows, as it's a great way to remind yourself exactly what you're supposed to be doing and not doing. All right, so I put some medium yellow out here on the palette, and I'm making a little bit more yellow-orange color, and I'm going to add some of that into my roses, because who doesn't love some orange roses? They symbolize exuberance and joy and happiness.
Is that true, or did you make that up?
Would I lie to you, Stephen?
That was suspicious.
That was absolutely the truth. But I'm not painting orange roses. I'm adding some orange accents to my pink roses. There is a huge distinction. So just adding a little bit of pumpkin here and there, and you could see that we really can alter the look of this painting very, very quickly without having to do very much difference. So back with a little bit of our medium yellow for that lighter, brighter orange color. And we'll add some other accents of that and just kind of put them where your heart leads you. I think most of them should go kind of around the perimeter of your flower. And if you feel the need, and I'm going to show you real quick, you can take a little bit of that orange accent color, not too much paint on the brush, and we can very easily just add a little flick of color, and that really kind of loosens the edge of the design quite a bit. All right, while we have our beautiful orange and yellow-orange colors out on our palette, let's add a little accent over here. So I've got pumpkin on my brush, and I'm going to put that right along the edge of the vase. So we've got that nice kind of orange accent, and I'm going to pick up a little medium yellow on the brush and add in an accent. Right here on the vase, let's give it a little pink accent there. I'll take some pumpkin on my brush and we'll tap on a little pumpkin accent right down there at the bottom. Not quite to the bottom and not quite to the edge. And we can give another little accent right there. let's switch back to our pink. Just wipe the brush off, pick up some pink, and I can add a little pink accent there, maybe another little tiny dab there, and I'm going to add a stronger little pink bit right down there at the bottom. And I'm going to rinse my brush out because I want to change from those pinks to white. All right, so now I'm going to pick up some titanium white, and I'm really putting this basically on half the brush, and the other half of the brush I'm just leaving it just kind of free of any kind of color. And I'm going to put a nice strong accent down here at the bottom. And I'm going to put one going the other direction. And if you start looking at glassware and vases and things like that, depending on how you set them up in your studio or wherever you happen to be looking at glass, and the light that hits it, you'll see all kinds of great colors and interesting shapes there. And that's kind of what I look at when I'm doing these vases. And I've got a little stash of wonderful vases at the house to look at for inspiration. And I'm just adding another little highlight over here and just tapping that right across the vase. Can add a little bit of light reflecting over all of that darkness in there. And need to do one other thing, or I say one other thing, you know me, I might be, it's going to be two things. Let's not kid ourselves. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of pink on my brush, not very much, and I'm going to touch a little pink accent right out there at the edge of my shadow. And then I'm going to take some of my pumpkin, and I don't need much paint on my brush at all, and I'm going to tap a little accent right across the top there. All right, and that's how easy it is to paint your Valentine's vase of roses. All right, thank you all for joining us for this, whatever episode of Art Talk this is. Stephen's going to put it in the upper corner there, so you know what episode you're watching. But Stephen and I both want to thank you for being with us. And if you would please comment, like, and subscribe, that really does help us. You can find the link for the Art Talk kit in the description below, along with the link for the downloadable design. You can also email us at art_talk@plaidonline.com if you have compliments that you'd like to leave us. So thanks for joining us. Thank you, Stephen, for being here and being helpful as always.
Yep, happy Valentine's Day, happy New Year's, all of the
happies that start out 2024.
Awesome.